TIệNN xin kính chào quý vị. Chào mừng quý vị đến với chuyên mục Cuộc sống thông minh trên kênh truyền hình FBNC, chuỗi chủ đề về tư vấn sức khỏe. Quý vị thân mến, hầu hết chúng ta ai cũng từng mắc phải những cơn ho, đôi khi chỉ là do khói bụi hay thời tiết thay đổi. Tuy nhiên, có những trường hợp ho lại là dấu hiệu cảnh báo của những căn bệnh mà không phải ai cũng biết, và việc dùng thuốc ho cũng cần phải hết sức thận trọng. Ngày hôm nay, chúng ta hãy cùng trò chuyện với bác sĩ Jonathan đến từ khoa nhi của Family Medical Practice để tìm hiểu về những cơn ho và thuốc trị ho. Thank you for being here and joining us.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So, coughing is nothing uncommon at all. We all experience a cough once in a while. So, very simple question, really. Why do we cough?
Okay, yeah, like you said, cough, it's one of the most common reasons why parents come to the clinic and bring their babies here. And there can be so many reasons for coughing. One of the most common reasons, especially here in Vietnam, is air pollution. I always tell parents, if you live in Saigon and you don't cough, something is wrong with you. And unfortunately, we see it in the clinic. We see a lot of babies that come with chronic cough, chronic sinus problems, chronic lung disease, asthma, and it's all because of the pollution. Other common causes for cough are infections. Viral infections like the flu, like a cold, a common cold, bacterial infections, and other kinds of infections. It can be allergies. It can be asthma. Asthma is one of the most common conditions in children. About 10% of the kids suffer at some point from asthma symptoms. The problem is, because there are so many different causes for cough, the treatment is different. So when a patient comes to you with cough, you need to have a clear idea of the history of the symptoms. You need to do a proper physical examination to determine what is the cause of the cough. Because if you just treat the cough and you don't treat the reason for the cough, you're not going to fail, or you're going to mistreat the patient.
Right, but because you said that there are so many causes. We cough often, especially for the babies as well, due to air pollution and a lot of other reasons. So when do we actually need to get the cough up? Like when our kids, for example, if they are coughing, when do we need to have their cough checked by a doctor?
So it depends on several factors. First, how long the child has been coughing. So if he's been coughing for 2 or 3 days, it's different than if he's been coughing for 2 or 3 weeks. It depends on the severity of the cough, how bad the cough is. If it's a dry cough or phlegmy cough, does the child have any breathing difficulties or wheezing, especially during the nighttime? If the child has other symptoms for fever, for example, or vomiting. So if the child's been coughing for a long period of time, if there are any signs of breathing difficulties or noisy breathing, like wheezing, if there are symptoms like fever or vomiting, this is a cough that should be checked as soon as possible.
For sure, we need to pay attention. But like you said, we all understand that coughing is so common. It's so common that actually a lot of the time we treat ourselves at home, right? We just go to a pharmacy, get ourselves some cough medicines, and that's it. But the problem is, if you walk into a pharmacy, it would get so overwhelmed by a variety of different cough medications. So why are there so many cough medications, and what are the differences?
That's a very good question, and this is one of the issues I'm trying to teach my parents, my patients' parents. There are many different kinds of cough medications because it's profitable. The cough medication industry in the US is more than $4 billion a year. And actually, most studies don't show any effect. Those medications are not useful, especially in small children. And some of them can even be very harmful, can have serious side effects. I can give you an example. I had a 3-month-old baby that came because of mild cough, runny nose, a little bit of cough, no fever. They went to a doctor, and that doctor prescribed them with a medication. Since they started this medication, the baby became very lethargic. He was barely responsive. He wasn't eating. And the parents were very concerned that it has something to do with the infection that he has. They brought him to the clinic, and I checked the child, and the child looked fine. And then I asked them about the medication. They had no idea what was the medication he was getting. We checked the picture of the medication. They took a picture, and turned out it was a medication called chlorpheniramine. It's an old antihistamine that can cause a child to be very drowsy, very lethargic. And you shouldn't be giving this kind of medication to babies at this age. So the problem is, if you give your child a medication and you have no idea what it is, you can have side effects, you can have allergies, and if you go to the doctor, he won't be able to help you, won't be able to treat you, because he doesn't know what you're giving your child. Right. It's very important for every parent to understand, to know the name of the medication they're giving, how it works, and why they give it to their child. You shouldn't be treating medications like candy. It can have serious side effects.
How can we tell if a cough medication is safe to use, and how can we tell if it is effective? Because it's so important, and of course side effects are something no one wants.
That's a fantastic question. In medicine, when we give treatment to a patient, it can be a medication, it can be a vaccination, it can be even a surgery. We always have to ask ourselves 2 things. 1, does it work? And 2, is it safe? So if the medication we're given is not helpful, we shouldn't be giving it. If this medication can have some serious side effects, we shouldn't be giving it. The only way to know if a medication is useful and safe is to do what we call double-blind study. That means you take 2 groups of patients. You give one group the medication, and you give the other group a false medication, or we call it placebo, that doesn't have any effect. Now, both the patients and the doctors who conduct the research don't know what they give. So both of them are blind to the treatment. So there's no effect on the study results. You treat the patients for a period of time, and then you collect the information about the results. Was there a difference between the placebo group and the medication group? Were there any serious side effects? It's exactly the same thing that they do with vaccinations. They need to check if it's effective, if there are significant side effects. And only if you do a proper study and you show that this medication actually works and it doesn't have serious side effects, you can give it to the patient. This is the big difference between Western medicine and traditional medicine. Western medicine, we don't give a medication just because somebody said it helps. Okay? You can take a medication and it might be helpful for you, but it won't be helpful for the other 10 people who take it. In traditional medicine, we rely on what other people told us, like grandmothers or healers or other people told us that it works, but we don't actually have any scientific evidence that it works. One of the examples I give is that there's a story about an old woman in Nepal. She's 100 years old. And they asked her what was her secret for long life. And she said she's been smoking since she was 12 years old. So she's convinced that smoking is her secret for long life. But we know that smoking kills, and smoking actually makes your life much shorter. So the fact that she's been smoking and the fact that she's been living for 100 years old doesn't mean that it was because of the cigarette. She may have other factors, like genetic factors, that affected that. So this is exactly the difference. If you really want to know if something works, you need to do a proper study. The problem with cough medication is most of the studies that were done don't show any benefit for most of the cough medications. There are exceptions, of course, but most of them don't really make a difference. And some of them, like we talked before, can have serious side effects. That's why in our clinic, for example, we use only 2 kinds of cough medications, not more. Another problem is that when you look at what actually is inside the cough medications, you see that what the pharmacy companies actually do is just mix and match. They take different kinds of cough medications, they mix them together, and they create a new syrup. So you have the red Amiflu, the blue Amiflu, the Atocin, and basically they're all mixtures of cough medications that don't give any benefits, and some of them are actually contradict each other. So, for example, one cough medication is supposed to increase the volume of cough. It's called expectorant. It increases the volume of water in the phlegm, and it's supposed to make it thinner and help you cough. And the other cough medication is supposed to dry up your phlegm. So you have 2 medications that actually contradict each other, and you can find them in the same syrup. So when you look at actually what's inside the cough medications, it doesn't make any sense. It's just a way of the pharmaceutical companies to mix and match, create a new syrup, and sell it to you.
So apart from the things that you shared already, because you know parents most of the time they may not be aware, right? So any other things that you think is important to note with the parents, with the audience here?
Yeah, most of the cough symptoms are caused by simple problems like air pollution or simple viral infections, but it's very important for the parents to notice I call it the warning signs. So if a child has a cough with very high fever, if a child coughs for more than a week, if the cough is getting worse, or if he develops breathing difficulties, these are symptoms that should be checked as soon as possible.
Right.
For most common cold problem, for example, if a child has just a little bit of runny nose and a little bit of cough, usually I recommend parents to use seawater spray to wash the nose. And either if it's a dry cough, then I use Prospan syrup, which is a herbal medication that has been tested. And if it's a productive cough with phlegm, I usually recommend the Ambroxol. Ambroxol is one of the cough medications that has been studied extensively, both on babies and even preterm babies. It has been shown to be very effective and very safe. So if your child has a problem and he has a productive cough.
Right, that's good to know. Thank you so much for the information. Thank you.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thưa quý vị, chúng ta vừa cùng trò chuyện với bác sĩ Jonathan đến từ khoa nhi của Family Medical Practice về những cơn ho cũng như thuốc trị ho, đặc biệt là ở trẻ nhỏ. Hy vọng là quý vị đã có thêm được những thông tin bổ ích. Cảm ơn quý vị đã theo dõi. Hẹn gặp lại quý vị trong các chuyên mục tiếp theo.